After what was the Pistons' best win in probably 3-4 years, the Pistons follow it up with what I believe to be their worst loss of the year at the buzzer to the Charlotte Hornets. How did the Pistons lose this one? We'll talk about it in today's episode of Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Also, make sure you head over to LockedOnDaily.com and subscribe to the Locked On Pistons Daily newsletter to go along with your Locked On Pistons Daily podcast. This is, I'm shocked that we're sitting here discussing that the Pistons just lost this game to the Charlotte Hornets by 1 point. I am absolutely shocked that the Detroit Pistons lost this game. After what was probably their best win in a few years against the Los Angeles Lakers, the Pistons followed it up, playing a team without Mark Williams, playing a team that had LaMelo Ball questionable going into the game. They played a Charlotte Hornets team that they controlled. I feel like the Pistons had control of the game for a lot of the time. The Hornets made a run late in this game, took the lead by 5, I believe. And the Pistons came back, took the lead back, and seemed to be in control. And then LaMelo Ball went crazy in the fourth quarter, was the best player on the floor, and that is one of the main reasons why the Detroit Pistons lost this game. I'm going to talk about Cade, but before we talk about Cade, can I just say this? The Detroit Pistons lose, I believe, like 10 times a year on them just missing a box out at the buzzer. I swear to God, I feel like I've watched this happen at least 10 times a year with the Pistons. I feel like it's happened at least 4 times against the Hornets over the last 5 years. Specifically against the Hornets, I feel like I've watched this happen over and over and over again. I don't know why the Detroit Pistons can't just box out at the buzzer. Look, if you watch this play back, the Pistons have at least 2 to 3 players just watching the ball when it hits the rim. I'll never, ever understand. I was taught my whole life. I will never, ever understand on the last play of the game why you don't have every single player on your team crashing the glass. They shot the ball with 2 seconds left. It's not like there's going to be an offensive rebound and then a kick out. They get the ball up. Every single player should be crashing to the glass. Not just to get to the rebound, but maybe to knock it loose. Maybe to cause it to be a hard rebound, to make it to where they don't get an easy putback. Just everyone should be crashing into the glass. Everyone should be pinballing off of each other, fighting for the rebound. There should not be one person on the floor looking up, staring at the rim like this. There shouldn't be one. Every single player should be fighting into the glass. And if you watch this game, at the last play, Brad Miller won it on a game winner. The Detroit Pistons have 2 to 3 players just watching the ball. I feel like we've talked about that on this podcast probably at least 5 times. I don't know why it happens to this team so often, so routinely, that they lose to mixed box outs. Now, JB didn't have Cade on the floor in the final play of the game because he had 5 fouls. I disagree with that. Cade had 5 fouls, but that's the last play of the game. If he fouls out, he fouls out. That's the last play. It's not like you're saving him for overtime. There is no overtime. It's the last play of the game. Cade had 10 rebounds. He had the most rebounds on the team. He should have been on the floor. He would have been a big body. He would have been able to box out Brad Miller instead of 6'4" Malik Beasley. Cade should have been on the floor. I see people questioning why they didn't have a big on the floor. I probably also agree with that. I would have had Isaiah Stewart on the floor. He's supposed to be able to switch across the board. I would have had Stu on the floor. He definitely would have fought for the rebound. I don't know if they get a clean offensive rebound. He definitely would have fought and made it hard. I probably would have had Stu on the floor as well. The lineup at the end of the game was definitely questionable by JB. Jaden Ivey, Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, Ron Holland, and Tobias Harris. Not a big lineup. Multiple negative defenders on the floor. Not a fan of that lineup. But I'm not blaming JB for this. You got to be able to execute a box out. Everyone should be crashing into the glass. There's no reason that you should ever see a player not crashing into the glass in a situation like this. Just absolutely unacceptable. It's the Pistons' worst loss of the year to me because they should have won this game. They were the better team. I feel like they are the better team. They outplayed the Hornets for the majority of the game. They should not have lost this game. They blew this game badly. And this isn't blowing a game against a Eastern Conference contender like the Celtics or the Heat or the Knicks. That's not one of those. This is another team in your ballpark that you outplayed for the majority of this game, and you blew it at the end because you couldn't box out. Absolutely horrible loss. Horrid, unacceptable loss by the Detroit Pistons. Absolutely unacceptable. Now let's get to Cade. Cade in this game had 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. Second straight triple-double. He has to close this game out. Cade has to close this game out. And this is in the fourth quarter, he only took 2 shots. And if they would have won this game, I probably would have came on this podcast and said he had 4 assists to 1 turnover. He created a lot of open looks at the end of the game. Tim Hardaway Jr. hit 2 threes off of his passes. Simone Fontecchio hit 1 off of his pass. And then I believe, Paul Reed, I believe, had a dump off of his pass as well. So he was creating for others well. But you have to take more than 2 shots in this fourth quarter. Cade has to close this one out. They just need 1 bucket. They could have just had 1 bucket from him and they would have been straight. They would have been straight. He has to close this one out. And the difference was that LaMelo Ball took 12 in the fourth quarter. LaMelo took 12 shots in the fourth quarter. He had 15, and he was the main reason why they won. He had a crazy step-back 3. Not even over Isaiah Stewart. Kind of broke Stu's ankles. Crazy step-back 3. The Pistons were able to still take a lead. Ron Holland stole the ball, took it down the court, scored what we thought was going to be the game winner, thought it was going to be a fun podcast. Turned out not. But LaMelo went out swinging. LaMelo went out with 12 shot attempts. He was letting it fly. If they were going to lose, it's because I was letting it fly. It is what it is. I'm going to go down swinging. We lose, we lose. If we win, it's going to be because I'm letting it fly. I'm making shots. And LaMelo was able to win them the game doing that. The Pistons can't have Cade taking 2 shots. Cade cannot take 2 shots in the fourth quarter. You would rather have Cade shoot 0 of 6, 0 of 7 in the fourth quarter than take 2 shots and miss 2, both of them. You can't. You cannot have your best player only taking 2 shots. And again, I'll be fair. If the Pistons won this game, would we be saying something different because he had 4 assists and created open looks for others? Maybe. Maybe we would. Maybe we would be saying something different if they won the game. But they didn't. And Cade has to be able to score in this fourth quarter. He has to be able to get just 1 bucket. He can't take 2 shots, man. Can't take 2. The Pistons have to box out at the last damn play. They need their best player to hit 1 bucket. And what we're going to talk about coming up, the Detroit Pistons at some point have to start hitting threes. At some point, they have to start hitting threes or they're just not going to win many games. You have to be able to hit threes or it's just over with. We'll break this down even more when we come back, man. Even though I wear underwear every day, I have not switched up the type of underwear I've bought since college. For those who haven't heard yet, Skims now offers men's underwear, and I'm here to tell you that it's worth the hype. As you know, I try to work out 5 days a week, but I've never liked wearing that synthetic feeling workout underwear, especially when I'm done at the gym. When I tried Skims stretch boxer briefs, it felt like I finally found the missing link. They give me all the movement I need for working out without feeling like I'm walking around wearing gym clothes the rest of the day. Plus, they never lose their shape or ride up. And maybe it's in my head, but I swear since I started wearing these, my gains have improved too, to be honest. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. If you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, also available at skims.com. Again, let them know that we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows at skims.com. Per usual, I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. The Detroit Pistons should have won this game. They should have won this game. They had to win this game. They would have won their first 3 games in a row since 2022. They would have been sitting at 4-5, feeling really good. And I've told you guys, this month is supposed to be their softest part of their schedule. They have to win games like this if they want to make up ground, if they want to win 30-plus games. These are the games you have to win. You cannot lose these games, especially in the part of your schedule that's supposed to be the softest that you're supposed to take advantage of. You cannot lose this game. They just can't do it. Losing this type of game is going to kill them. This is a horrid loss. I cannot believe they lost this game. So they lost this game because they didn't get a box out at the end, like we talked about. They needed Cade to close this one out, and he didn't do it. Was not aggressive enough trying to get his own basket. I understand that the Hornets were setting two at him. I understand that the Hornets were trying to trap him, and he was trying to find open shooters. You need your best player to try to be aggressive trying to score. Try to get to the free throw line. I know the foul calls. I know the refs aren't very kind to you, but you have to get shots up. You have to get shots up. You have to try to close this game out. Just have to. Absolutely just have to. At the end of the game, the Pistons, I believe the last Piston, let me make sure I get it correct for you guys. I believe Walk hit it on the floor. The last three shots were Tim Hardaway shots. You had a Jaden Ivey driving dunk that cut the lead to one. I'm not counting that one. That was the Hornets just gave you that. The last three shots was a Tim Hardaway Jr. Three-point shot. You had Jaden Ivey hitting some free throws. Tim Hardaway Jr. Made three, and then Tobias Harris missed corner three. And then Tobias Harris made pull-up shot. So Cade just has to take shots. He has to shoot the shot, and you can't be putting the ball in the life of the Pistons' hands into T.H. Shea, even though T.H. Shea had a fine game, and Tobias Harris's hands. Tobias, at this point, I don't know what's going on. Tobias Harris can't hit a corner three for his life. He has to be shooting like damn near 0% from the corners. You cannot win the game. You cannot win games with Tobias Harris shooting like this from the corners. He has to start hitting threes. But my overall point is, what I wanted to get to in this episode, the Detroit Pistons have to, at some point, start hitting threes. They went out and got all these three-point shooters so they could hit threes, and they're not hitting any threes. They're not hitting any threes. They're shooting 33% from three to start the year off. That's not including this game. NBA.com doesn't have this game yet. Going into this game, they are shooting 33%. 33! You can't win like that. Tobias Harris is shooting 17% from the corners. Over the last 5 years, he's been a 40-plus three-point shooter from the corners. This year, he's shooting 17% from three in the corners. And 51% of his attempts are from the corner, and he's shooting 17% on them. You can't win like that. You're not going to win games like that. The reason why the Hornets were able to stay in this game, despite the fact that the Detroit Pistons shot 49% from the field, the Pistons outscored the Hornets. Let me get the exact number. The Pistons outscored the Hornets by 20 in the paint. The Pistons had 64 points in the paint. 64! The Hornets, basically what they said, they started playing Grant Williams at the 5 and said, screw it, we're going to switch across the board. If you want to go to the rim, we're going to help down. And honestly, we'll give you some layups because we're going to go down, we're going to take threes, and we're going to beat you that way. You can take twos, we're going to beat you with threes. And it worked. It absolutely worked. The Pistons dominated in the paint. But because the three-point difference was there, it didn't matter. It just didn't matter. Also, I'll say this quickly. I personally find it hilarious that the Pistons had this many points in the paint. The majority of their shot profile came in the paint, and they only had 9 free throws. I find that hilarious. The Hornets took 12 more threes than the Detroit Pistons, but yet had 7 more free throws than them. I find that hilarious. That is crazy to me. There's no way a team like the Pistons that just lived in the paint this entire game only got to the line 9 times. Only got to the line 9 times. And that plays with the psyche of players. You're not getting foul calls late in games. You don't want to go to the rim and trust the fact that you're going to get a call because you haven't gotten one all night. I don't know what the refs' problems are with the Pistons. There's no way a team that lives in the paint like the Pistons did tonight get 9 free throws. 9 free throws is crazy. Cade, I think, had 16 shots in the paint in the first half, had 0 free throws. That's crazy. That is absolutely insane. Insane. But either way, back to my three-point shot argument. I'm going all over the place because this game really has me frustrated. This is just a game you can't lose, man. This is a horrible loss. The Charlotte Hornets took 12 more threes than the Detroit Pistons in the first half. In the first half, the Hornets took, I believe, 26 threes. In the first half. And that's why the Hornets were hanging in this game. Whether people like to admit it or not. I know that there's this talk about, is it the right look for the game? Is it fun to watch? Are you having fun watching or you want to win some games? Like, which one is it? You want to have fun or you want to win? I want to win. I'd like to win games. Fun can happen later. You know what's fun? Winning. I think winning's fun. And in order to win in today's NBA, you have to shoot threes. You have to get threes up. And not only do you have to get threes up, you have to make threes. The Pistons shot 31% from three tonight. They're shooting 33% in the year. That's 24th in the NBA. They only made 10 threes tonight. The Hornets made 14. That's 12 extra points from beyond the arc that the Hornets took or had over the Detroit Pistons. They won by 1 point. They won by 1. The Pistons had 7 more made field goals than them. It did not matter because the Hornets took 12 more threes than them. The Pistons cannot continue to do this. They just can't. It just can't continue to happen in 2024. They need Tobias to hit threes. They can't have Malik Beasley shooting 1 of 7 from 3, 2 of 11 from the floor. Cade can't shoot 0 of 4 from deep. He took all 4 dribble pull-up threes, which I'm happy about. I'm happy that he's continuing to have the volume up from 3 on the dribble pull-ups, but you can't go 0 of 4. You have to hit some. This is such an unacceptable loss. Such an unacceptable loss if you're the Detroit Pistons. Just can't have it, man. You cannot have this loss. Especially coming off what was such a great win. Such a great win. And the Pistons felt like they were in control of this game. I never really questioned that they were going to lose this game until late in the fourth. Even when it was just like a 2-point game, I felt like the Pistons were kind of coasting at one point. Like the Hornets were getting back in, but the Pistons were kind of just like, don't care. And that's a criticism of itself. They should have been stomping on these dudes. They should have had a bigger lead than this. Way bigger lead. Pistons only turned the ball over 11 times. Cade only had 1 turnover. Or 2 turnovers. This is one of those, you have to win this game. You don't turn the ball over a lot. You shoot 49% from the field. You have the lead with 6 seconds left by 1. You have to win this game. I don't have nothing else for you guys, man. Like I'm in shock that the Pistons lost this game. Utter shock. This is just a straight up unacceptable loss. This one's gonna bite them. You're gonna feel this one. You're gonna feel this one. Coming up, they got the Hawks. This was the perfect time for the Pistons to be able to go like on a 4-game win streak and feel really good about themselves. Win 3 in a row, go against the Hawks at home, get a 4th, head into the Sunday game against Houston, trying to get 5 in a row. Like, this stretch right here was sized up for the Pistons to go on a 5-game win streak. It was sized up right there for them, and they blew it. Badly. Badly blew it. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And one of the things they have to do if they want to change this moving forward and actually want to be taken serious as a basketball team and want to be taken serious as a legit play-in potential team, you cannot continue to shoot 33% from the floor or from the 3. You can't do it. They need to get higher than 20th in the NBA in 3-point shots. You just have to. That's why you went out and got all these shooters. That's why you went out and got THJ, Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris. That's why you went out and got them. So you could shoot well from beyond the arc and you could get more threes up. Right now, they're doing neither. Just absolutely shocking game, man. Before we get to later on, I want to talk about Jalen Duren potentially. Don't know how serious his injury is. He didn't return this game. I want to talk about what this could mean for them moving forward. But before we get to that, man, I guess some quick positives. Jaden Ivey had a really nice game. 8 of 16 from the floor, 21 points. Really nice game. Tim Hardaway Jr., 5 of 10 from the floor, continues to be what the Pistons really need from him. He continues to be exactly what everyone expected or wanted from him. Paul Reed with some incredible minutes. We'll talk about him later when we talk about Jalen Duren's potential injury. And then I want to shout out Ron Holland, who at the end of the game had one of those no, 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 yes moments where they got the steal. He was pushing in transition. I was sitting there like, okay, slow down, slow down, slow down. At one point, I was almost hoping that JB would call a timeout. I don't know if they had one, but I was watching the game like, oh my God, calm down. But he ended up turning it into a bucket, giving the Pistons the lead, what should have been the game-winning shot. Ron Holland is looking more and more comfortable. He hit 2 threes in this game. He's looking more and more comfortable each game he plays. You love to see that from the Pistons rookie. But outside of that, man, I don't think any of that matters. Literally, I don't think anything matters because this was a horrid loss that the Pistons just can't have. You can't have this loss happen. Just can't. Jalen Duren might be, we don't know how bad the injury is, but he did not play the rest of the game with an ankle injury that he suffered in the first quarter. What does this mean for the Detroit Pistons? We'll talk about this coming up. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So Jalen Duren early in this game, very, very early in this game, suffered a nasty-looking ankle injury. He was able to get up and walk off by himself, but I feel like people need to understand that doesn't always mean everyone's okay. We've seen multiple players be able to walk off with pretty devastating injuries. Just being able to walk it off doesn't mean everything's all right. That's not me trying to say this was a devastating injury. I just saw a lot of people saying, oh, he's walking, he'll be fine, he'll play the rest of the game. That's not what that means. You can walk it off and still be in a lot of pain. And obviously, he was in enough pain that he did not come back in this game. It was a nasty, I believe it was a left ankle injury. He went for a defensive rebound, didn't really land on anybody. It was a non-contact one, which really had me scared at first. I didn't see him land on anyone's foot. It was just a non-contact injury. It had me really concerned for what it could have been. But watching the replay, obviously, he twisted his ankle pretty bad. This is obviously a player who has dealt with ankle injuries a lot through his short career. It's definitely a concern, the fact that he keeps having multiple ankle injuries per year. He had multiple last year, and a lot of people attributed how he played defensively to the fact that his ankles were not okay for the whole year because of how much he kept re-injuring them. So this is definitely something to watch with Duren. Hopefully he gets back to 100%. Hopefully he'll be all right, obviously. But this is a concern that he continues to have over and over and over and over and over again, the same injury. That's a little concerning, to be honest. But obviously hoping that he gets back 100% real quickly. Hopefully it's nothing serious and he's able to come back and play. If he is not able to come back and play, the Pistons, I think, are in good hands. With that, I think they're fine. I wouldn't be too concerned. Obviously, I think they miss Duren some. Not saying that they won't miss his presence at all. He's definitely their best playmaking big. But they have a good center rotation going on with the Pistons. They got Isaiah Stewart, who I think everyone's really happy with as a backup 5. And I think there were already some people, like before this last game against the Lakers, like there were people trying to push that Stu should start over Duren, like already this early in the year. So I don't think anyone would be too crazy and too upset to see Stu playing in the starting lineup. I think everyone will be okay with that. I think the Pistons will survive with Stu. I think he's a good enough player where the Pistons should be able to survive in short spurts with him at the starting 5. So I think they'll be fine there. And also Paul Reed had a tremendous game tonight against the Hornets. He was 6 of 6 in just 12 minutes of action. 6 of 6, 13 points, had a crazy block. I forget who was on, but he had a crazy block from behind. Swatted off the backboard. It was crazy. Along with 2 steals. He was a big energy bunny for the Detroit Pistons coming into this game, and he played really well in his short spurt. Super athletic guy, had really nice touch around the rim tonight. And Paul Reed was someone that people thought could be a backup big. I was reading throughout the offseason when the Pistons got him. So I don't think the Pistons are in like a position like I would say maybe a few years ago, over the last few years, where, you know, if you're forced to play James Wiseman heavy minutes, or if you were forced to play, you know, who was another, you know, Luka Garza heavy minutes. You know, I don't think they're in that type of position where, you know, you're screwed and it's going to be really rough. I think they'll be fine. They should survive if they have to play games without Duren. But obviously, you'd like to have Duren out there. Again, he's their best playmaking big, and he looked really good against the Lakers. Looked like he was trending in the right direction. Obviously, he's Cade's best lob target. Him and Cade have incredible chemistry. So missing that could be detrimental to the team. But I don't think it should kill them that much. I think they're in good hands with the bigs that they've acquired and gotten on the roster. So hopefully Duren comes back and is okay. He gets back 100%. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully next time I record the podcast, I'm saying, oh, he's ready for the next game. It's not that big of a deal. But usually if it's an ankle injury that's painful enough to keep you out the rest of the game, you're usually probably going to miss at least a few games. But we'll see what it is. The Pistons should be in good hands. But that's all I've got for you guys today, man. I really just want to emphasize one more time, man. This is just an unacceptable loss from the Pistons. This is one of those losses where the Cade needs to look in the mirror and say, I was just not good enough. I was not good enough for this team late. I have to be better. I have to be better for us to win this game. I cannot let us lose this game. And this is coming from someone, obviously, who's a big fan of Cade and a big believer in Cade. But this is one of those losses he has to shoulder. He has to shoulder a lot of this and say, and look, some of this obviously is, I feel like some of this talk obviously is to the extreme, but I feel like it goes to the extreme when you get paid this type of money and you are the franchise player. Like at the end of the day, he did have a triple-double. He was a +1 in the fourth quarter. He had the second best plus-minus of anybody in the starting lineup that played more than 8 minutes because Duren went out early in the game. So the team was better with him on the floor. He was creating open looks for the team in the fourth quarter. Despite that, though, as the best player on the team, you cannot take just 2 shots in the fourth quarter, and you have to be able to get them just 1 bucket. 1 bucket would have changed the game. So, especially in a game like this, when I'm sure the Pistons feel like they're the better team. They're the better team. You're in control of it. With how Cade started off 6 of 8, and then he went, what was it? He started off 6 of 8, ended up going 3 of 15 after that. Just went, that you can't have that. You just absolutely cannot have that. He has to be better. I know he knows that, but this is one of those games he has to shoulder and say, and hopefully this is one of those ones that turn everything around next game, and it's like, I can't have that happen again. It won't happen again, and, you know, whatever. But this is one of those ones, this is an unacceptable loss for the Pistons, man. Absolutely unacceptable. But that's all I've got for you guys today, man. Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. How do you guys feel about this loss for the Detroit Pistons? Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. You guys get the message. I really don't want to do our normal outro because this was, not even from a rooting interest, just watching this was deflating. That's a deflating way to lose. Deflating way to lose. I'll catch you guys later. Stay safe out there. Peace out.